Welcome to the Becoming Sovereign podcast put on by Sovereign. And today I have a guest with me who was actually the first interview I did, the first podcast I went on when I left my job last year, my fiat job. And I actually did the recording before I was officially left. So if my former employers listening, please, please don't come after me. Um, but someone I have deeply respected in the space for a long time, Daniel Prince, the Once Bitten podcast. Daniel, I got your book for Christmas, and I started reading Atlas Shrugged, and we're 5 months into the year here, pretty much. We're recording this third day of June, and I'm still through it. It's an absolute slog, and I love the book. It's a great book, but I can only bite off like so much of it at a time. It's intense. It's very descriptive, and it's not a quick read, and it's also like 1,100 pages long. And so, um, your book is next up in the queue, but it's funny when I asked for it for Christmas, my mom was like, "I'll get you this book, but I'm not really happy about getting it for you. I kind of want you to stick around here." And so I said, "I understood," and that's probably what's going to happen here for the short term. But I wanted to ask you, without having read the book yet, and it is next in the queue, though, as you Brits like to say. Um, how do you sort of balance this idea? And you talk about it a lot. You're outspoken about Club Orange. I know you do a lot with them, and so this idea of building community, finding people around you, settling in, and building that Bitcoin community. I found here in Chicago, every year my network grows. I just recently, this fresh looking haircut here, I just got from a woman who's part of the Chicago Bitcoin Collective who cuts hair for Bitcoin. So now I have a place to go get my hair cut for Bitcoin. I started with a guy who was selling beef for Bitcoin around here. And so we have that. And we have a network of people at the collective. And now we have a restaurant we can go to. Now we have people that can help with hardware issues, with software issues, all this sorts of stuff. So kind of building this community, this Bitcoin community of people with different skills and talents, and plugging into that network versus the going to see the world, experiencing different cultures, letting your kids experience those things, those life experiences. How do you sort of see that balance playing out, and how have you dealt with that personally in your life?
Yeah, well, thank you for asking the question. Thanks for having the book, and thanks for having me on the show. The interesting thing about the book is I wrote that when so like, back up quickly. I also used to work in what's now called TradFi. You and I worked in TradFi before it was even called TradFi, right? It was just called Financial
Fi,
Services.
yeah,
Fi,
yeah.
yeah. And I had an 18-year career in that. And then I read a book called The 4 Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, which changed my thinking. And it made me realize I was living a deferred lifestyle, and I had my wife and 4 kids at home, and I wasn't seeing them. And I felt like a lodger in my own home at the weekends. And that changed. We completely flipped that around 180. I quit my job, and we took the kids out of school. We had 2 at school age at that time. We were living in Singapore. We'd lived there for 15 years. All the kids have been born there. Four kids, age 6, 4, and no, where were we? Yeah, 7, 5, and 2 3-year-olds at that stage when we quit, and sold everything, kept a few things in storage, and then just took off. We went to our house that we'd bought in Koh Samui when we'd lived over in Singapore, and we sat there for a few months, and then we started home swapping our way around the world, and we did that for almost 3 years. That was the big realization to us, was about finding your tribe. That was so important at that time, because we were flying in the wind of all of the narratives, of all of the parenting narratives, of all of the education system narratives. Your friends and your family were pointing fingers at you, saying you're making an irresponsible decision. You can't take the children out of school. You're just living like this is a midlife crisis, and what you're going to do is harm your children. And it was tough, very tough. And if we hadn't have found the support from other families that had done the exact same thing, and this is pre-Bitcoin, by the way, I was still in the Bitcoin is an absolute retarded idea stage of my rabbit hole journey.
Your five
I'd
career, yeah.
seen I'd seen Mount Gox go down and thought it was the most ridiculous idea, and I thought, well, they were the guys that invented Bitcoin, and now they've gone, and I had it all so wrong. All I was doing were reading the headlines in the International Herald Tribune. That was my level of deep research, ridiculous. So we found this other lifestyle first. We separated education from state first, and we felt the freedom, and we regained our time. But we needed those people that thought like us and had done it. We needed to find the people that we could follow. We needed that beaten path. Sure, we might veer off from it every now and then, but we needed someone there just to say, like, yeah, you're not nuts. Look at what's happened here. And it wasn't until I read a blog post, because we would, what it's like when you find something new, especially Bitcoin, you read it, you try and get as much as you can information. That's what we were doing with what you'd call world school families. I was trying to find world school family blogs, and this was back in 2013 and 14. So the only real place you could find these people was on Facebook and find their blogs. And I remember reaching out to like 2 or 3 families, and they were all kind enough to get back to me. And I was, wow, that's crazy. Like, these people have given up their time. I remember one email come back. It must have taken a good 30 to 45 minutes for this person to respond. And that's what you find again in the Bitcoin space, right? When you start connecting with complete and utter total strangers, they're there with you, for you, with the information, and they want you to learn from their mistakes, like Bitcoin, not shitcoins, and please understand that, and self-custody your Bitcoin, all this kind of stuff. So when we found these other families and connected with them online via email and read their blogs, and more importantly, read some of the blog posts that their kids had written, because their kids were updating the family blogs for them too, and I read a post from a 13-year-old girl called Hannah Miller, and it was so eloquently written and so brilliantly presented. There was comedy and irony in it, pure wit. I'm like, wow, she's 13. Like, and she's out there traveling the world with her 3 younger siblings, I think that she had at the time, and with her mum and dad. They're around each other all the time, and that's what I want for my kids. I want them to have that experience. So when we did get going, my wife Claire, we only had one phone between us, and one laptop, and she was kind of the Facebook. She was kind of the tribe builder, and like, okay, who are the people here? And I was the home exchange guy. I would use the electronic to get our home exchanges in and make sure we had a roof over our head in like a week's time. So we would land in these different countries, and a few days prior to us landing, she would find out who was there. And if someone was there, another family would do a meetup in the park, and it would just be, like when you go to a Bitcoin conference and you meet, he's like, blah, you just splurge everything. And this is what it was like when we met these people, and the kids just gelled immediately. And it's just so lovely to have that when you feel alone, and a lot of Bitcoiners do feel alone. You've felt it.
Oh, of course, absolutely. I mean, I even feel alone now, even with a community around us here, and it's great. But at the end of the day, I'm going there once a week or once every 2 weeks, and yeah, I'm in the group chats. But I have my family, I have my friends, I have all these other people that I'm interacting with on a day-to-day basis. And then you have stuff that's going on right now where it's we're going through a drawdown, and then it's the same questions every time. Is Bitcoin dead? Why 5 years ago I could have just bought the S&P 500, and it's like, yeah, well, if you went back 4 years ago, you're outperforming the S&P 500. So it's just like, it's just constantly like, even though people that are, understand your position, they even agree with you, they've seen your life improve immensely, they understand that, like, okay, this isn't a 3, a 4, even a 5 year undertaking. This is a, this is a long term, this this is a view of the future, decade plus out. And like, even though you have all that, you're still inundated by like, what's going on here, why is this happening? And there's and then, to make this time around even worse, you have this contentious split in the community, and there's just a lot of people going at each other, and the whole digital asset nonsense, which we can get into later. And all, it's just like just a sea of chaos. And then it is, yeah, okay, yeah, you do have this Bitcoin community, it's important to talk to them, they all understand. I mean, it's funny because you're around all the Bitcoiners and they don't even really talk about any of the macro stuff, what's going on. It's just everyone is aware of what's going on, everyone knows, and it's just like, it doesn't matter, we're here as the Bitcoin community. And that's so refreshing. But at the same time, you do have to live, it's I would say 95% of my life is not around those people. And so even 95% of the time, it is lonely. And not lonely, I don't want to say lonely, but it's you're just trying to find a shared thread with someone, like you said at the beginning, your tribe, like finding that amongst the rest of society is difficult. And like, there's other thing, of course, Bitcoin's not the only thing that matters. Of course, like spending time with your family is important. That's wonderful time. Spending time with your church, your community, your relationship with God, or whoever you worship, like that's all important too. And those are all varying types of connections. But there is this big part where most everyone, like you said, thinks you're nuts, thinks you're the craziest person on the planet. Even though they see the improvements in your life, they still think you're crazy. It's like the carnivore diet, or keto diet, or whatever. It's like, oh, I see you lost 30 pounds, you're in the best shape of your life, you look super vibrant, healthy, you got off a bunch of medication, but that's a silly diet. And it's like, well, is it? I mean, I don't know. I guess it's stupid. Seems to have done a lot for my life, and probably my life expectancy. But and so, yes, you do feel that loneliness, and that's I'll let you finish where you're going with all that. But like that's kind of the battle I see. And maybe the answer is, like, to your point, to my point, yeah, you are with that Bitcoin community just for a small amount of time. Yes, you've built a network. Yes, you have sort of this economic these economic nodes around you. But at the end of the day, what's most important is your family, seeing things, getting out there, and you are going to be lonely no matter where you go. And so, yeah, maybe that's where you're headed with all this. But I'll let you
Yeah,
finish.
it's
Yeah.
I've often asked the question to Bitcoiners, what's worse when a conference is coming around and you're sitting there and you're on Twitter or Nosta or wherever you spend your social time nowadays, and you start seeing the tweets going around of people at the airport meeting up randomly, and or like the first day of the conference, or even a few days before when the hype really starts ramping up. What's worse, the FOMO because you didn't buy a ticket, or the come down when you're in the security line after the weekend is finished and you're back in normie land, to use like that label, whatever, and you're surrounded by people. You've just spent 3 days having the most incredible conversations. Like, anything's on the table, we can go anywhere right now. wherever you want to take this. I mean, I was chatting with Ben Wherman in Ireland the other day, and he was holding court with his flat Earth theories, and I'm like, I'm 2 Guinnesses deep, and here we are. I'm listening to this dude, and I'm thinking, I'm just surrounded by people that no one's slamming him, everyone's listening, and offering up different opinions. And it was like, wow, you really can talk about anything as Bitcoiners. And that is just something that's so refreshing. But when you do get back in that, I had to leave early on the Monday morning, and I was alone in the cab for the 30-minute drive, had a lovely conversation with the cab driver, and he'd just picked up Coach Carbon before me, so he had the flyer, and he loved his football. So we was talking about, he's like, wait, you guys are educating people about Bitcoin using football, soccer for your language?
Yes.
We're like, yeah, this is how we're going to do it. Like, it's grassroots. He's like, that's amazing. But then I was alone for the next next 3 hours. And that's tough. Yeah, I guess we're now at the stage where I can talk about it at home all the time. And if I'm not talking about it, one of my kids is bringing up a question, or my wife is talking about it, or my wife's on a call with another Bitcoin wife, mother, who's going to the next conference and sorting out meetups and whatever else. So it has crept into our daily life, which is amazing to see. And that, the way we did that was by going to the conferences all together. Mm-hmm. That's a key part of this, or the meetups, whatever's local to you. And to come back to Club Orange, thank you for bringing that up. I've sat on the board of Club Orange since the beginning, even though I turned down the position 2 or 3 times probably, because Matteo Pellegrini, who started Club Orange, calls me up and offers me the idea of, just help me out. Like, it's an unpaid role, but I need to, get this thing off the ground. And I'm like, man, I'm like in my mid-40s. I'm married happily, by the way, 4 kids. That's kind of what I'm known for in the space. They see us all at the conferences and stuff. I don't think a dating app for Bitcoiners is kind of the right fit for me. He's like, it's not a dating app. Why does everybody keep thinking this is a dating app? Like, all of the venture capitalists wouldn't touch him because they all thought it was a dating app, and the worst idea ever for a bunch of dudes to be on a Bitcoin-only dating app. But it's not that. It's about community. It's about getting, what's one of the tags we use? IRL is greater than URL, In real life is better than online. And we all know that. Because the toxicity that gets thrown around on Twitter especially, Nosta's a little more amicable, but Twitter especially...
Until this week, but that's a whole...
Yeah, it's all kicked off over there now on Nosta.
Been a spicy week, yeah.
It has been one. But the idea being, let's get off of the keyboards and into the physical meet space. Let's have the conversations. Let's build the friendships, because this is what is truly going to propel you forward. And I can't really put a word on that feeling you get when you go to your first conference or your first meetup, or just having a conversation in real life, face to face, with your first Bitcoiner. And if anyone listening has not had that experience yet, seek it out. It's so easy to do now. Like, download Club Orange and find the nearest Bitcoiner to you, or find the nearest event or meetup, and just go by and just say, hey, I just want to introduce myself. I want to learn more about Bitcoin. I'm at this stage on my journey, and bam, your life changes. You've got people around you that you never ever thought you'd ever meet, from all walks of life. And you feel validated. You feel seen. You feel heard, and it's definitely something I think people should take more seriously.
You definitely you feel validated. It's awesome to have that support, knowing that there's come hell or high water, there's always going to be a group of people that you can reach out to. But there's another element too, where when you're normie land, like I probably don't need to tell you, in the corporate world, we would go to these lunches, we would go to these sporting events, we would go to golf, and going with some of these people was just a chore to even just have a real conversation about anything other than work. Like, you got outside of, I mean, I remember when I was starting, they literally had a rule, you don't talk about religion or politics. And it's like, why? Like, why? I mean, I don't really care about politics, but I find like religion to be one of the most fascinating things to talk about and enriching things to talk about. And all of a sudden, that's just right off the table. You can't do business if you're going to have a real conversation with someone. It's like, well, what are we even doing here? And so you'll get into these non small talk conversations where you're like talking about real things and real issues.
I've got a word for that. I've
Go
got,
for it.
I came to the same realization as you, and I realized, wow, I've spent like the best part of my adult life having non-versations.
Nice. I like that. That's good. That's a good portmanteau there. Yeah.
And you see it, like you can't help but see. I was getting my hair cut yesterday. The amount of non-versations going on in that, like,
Oh, yeah.
and you're like, oh God, like seriously, this is it? Like this is all we've got? Like, my goodness.
Well, and first, I mean, I first of all, the haircuts I'm getting now, one, they're $10 cheaper, but just yeah, going. There's this place in my neighborhood. I've just been going there forever. They've changed owners or a group of people like 4 different times, and yeah, you just go in there. First of all, half the people don't even speak English. Like, I speak Spanish, so I can converse with them, but yeah, there's like 2 guys that speak English. They got to bring the English guy over, and it's like, yo puedo hablar, está bien. I'm like, it's fine. You can talk to me. I'll understand you. But like, it even the conversations they're just nothing. And then guys will come in, and it's just talk about the Bulls and the Cubs, and it's like, okay, it's all fine, but it's just like, what are
That's
we
the
doing?
meme, isn't it?
Yeah,
Crazy. You see the
and
game last night?
it's 100%. It's see the game last night. I mean, no one's even talking about like their families or like at least like how's your kid develop. It's just none of this stuff. There's just like nothing. It's just all pablum. And then I went over to when I got my hair cut. The lady Stacy, she's wonderful. She does the Bitcoin Nova podcast. Her husband George is in there. He and I are having a great conversation. We're talking, and then I get my hair cut. We're talking Bitcoin. We're talking. They had all these like relatives and people walking through. We're talking about family and all this stuff, and just a wonderful experience. And you look down and you're like, oh my gosh, like 45 minutes is just gone. It's up. It's over. Whereas the other place, it's like, hey man, can you chop a little faster here? Like, let's get this going. I want to get out of here. I got things to do. And it just even simple things like that where you feel enriched, and you go away, you're like, oh, I just had a real conversation. Like, whereas before it's just like, I'm just killing time. I am just trying to get through this. There's something that has to get done. And, it was like those corporate lunches. It's like, okay, I'm going to go eat something. I guess I'm doing it with this lawyer. And I guess we'll talk about bankruptcy rulings for the 8th time. And
And the weather.
and the weather. Oh, so much weather talk. Yeah. Yeah.
I know Stacey. Well, not personally, we've not met,
Yeah.
but yeah, she's on Club Orange here.
Yeah,
And
she is. She's a
yeah,
big Club Orange
yeah, she's
proponent.
huge. She's Club
Yes.
Orange community manager, and
Yeah.
she runs the Bitcoin Army group chat over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a perfect example of somebody that is bringing together communities. And so, is she cutting the hair? That's her?
Yeah, yeah. She's
Wow.
she was the first member at the Chicago Bitcoin Collective. I was number 2, so she beat me. I signed up like 48 hours in, and she apparently signed up in like 24 hours. So she's was the only person ahead of me on the membership. So
Yeah, it's so important. Get out there, meet people, join Club Orange, find out the local apps, the local area. There's a great few tools on there now as well. You can so the wallet within the app, and it's a self-custodial wallet, has just been growing bananas since that launched. And I think it's one of the most widely used Lightning wallets out there available, which is amazing. And you can geo zap people, and you can bio zap people now. So if you're a Bitcoiner and it could be anything, like whatever your interest is. The little video they put out there, maybe you want to hire a developer, well, you could just type developer into the wallet, and it tells you there's 422 developers listed on this app. So it's like your own little club. Like, okay, if I need a developer for a Bitcoin project, there's 422 Bitcoiners with developer in their bio here. If I need a lawyer, there's 75 lawyers, Bitcoin lawyers, that are going to, help, and I can pay them in Bitcoin. They'll probably give me a good price, or they might even do it pro bono. Or if, like in the little video they released, if you want to go hiking, like who likes going hiking? All right, there's 20 people. Like, brilliant. Let's get a
Let's get a
hiking
group
holiday.
together. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you just zap them. You zap like 21 sats, and they get the notification and an email that says, "Okay, my name's Daniel, and I'm in the area." I use it for when we go traveling. So this is bring it all the way back to your original question. When we were trying to find our tribe, when we were on the road, we were finding world schoolers and unschoolers and homeschoolers. Now I can find Bitcoiners, and a lot of Bitcoiners are with young families are treading that path of, I've separated money from state. I think I'll look into separating education from state. But what does that look like? And that might really upset the apple cart with the rest of the family, the wider family, the aunties and the uncles, and the mums and the dads, and the nannies and the granddads. They're going to take a very dim view of like your life choices, probably. So finding people that you can lean on and get real life validation from, don't trust verify. So when you get out and you meet people, and you can make a much better informed decision just by talking with people and seeing their body language, seeing how they interact with other people around them, and especially how they interact with their family and their wife and the kids. This is all very, great community building stuff, networking stuff as well, because you soon realize the kind of people that you're going to gravitate towards, and perhaps not, and that's fine. That's a totally natural thing for us to do. So yeah, I'm kind of rambling now. I can't remember where I was going. Basically, the underlying message we're both trying to point out here is get out and meet other Bitcoiners.
Well, and it's funny you say that too about getting to meet people and seeing what kind of people they are. When we opened the collective, there's a restaurant associated with it. It's called Fork and Coin, which is pretty great name for a restaurant. A Bitcoin related restaurant, I must say. And it's not. There's going to be Bitcoin decor. You're going to be able to pay in Bitcoin, but it's not going to like you walk in and you're handed a pamphlet about Bitcoin. And it's going to be a restaurant with like Bitcoin stuff around. And I got a write up in one of the local magazines and some online publications, and then a Reddit forum popped up, and it was just like person after person. Like, it appears this is Bitcoin themed. It sounds like this guy is an evangelist. Oh my gosh, this is going to be insufferable. I'm never going to this place if it's Bitcoin. It's like, okay, why don't you just come out? And like so we posted it in the group chat, and I said, well, we're just going to kill these people with kindness and amazing food, and then they're going to be forced to show up here. And it's like, you're, I know these are normies. I hope they come in one day, but it's like, if you actually just came out and sat down and talked to the people here, like, you're going to be so welcome. Like, no one is going to be like, hey, if you don't go home and buy Bitcoin right now, like, don't ever come back here. Like, people will be friendly, engaging, willing to talk to you, like wanting to hear your life story, like, all this other stuff. And it's just sad. It's like, I want these 4 people to just walk in one day and then deal with us. And like, that is the experience you get when you actually go out. You see the character of these people. Now, this isn't everyone. there's a few people at some of the meetups I've been to that are just like, okay, how do we kick this guy out of the group chat and that sort of thing, and had to do that a couple times. Not me, I wasn't the admin, but some grifters out there and things like that. But by and large, 98% of the people out there are just going to be just great people for you to interact with, down to earth, good folk, and it does enrich the soul to go interact with those type of people, and then just to see it in real life. It's like the same thing at my church. It's just when I interact with that community, it's just a different type of person than I'm dealing with, at when I used to be at the office or out at the grocery store. It's just a much more humble, calm, loving community. And of course, there's outliers and crazy pastors and terribly run churches and all this other sorts of, abuse of the faith and those sorts of things. But by and large, you get out, you get yourself amongst them, and it's just a fulfilling, enriching experience that there are a lot of people who kind of sit back and they have excuses like, oh, my OPSEC is so important, and or oh, great way to get on a list, or whatever, all this stuff. It's like, do you really, do you want to go through the rest of your life hiding, living in fear, worried that the SWAT team's going to knock on your door one day? Like, if the SWAT team comes to knock on your door one day because you're a Bitcoiner, like, we have way bigger problems to deal with than, like, I guess if you want to live your life like, hey, if bunker times come, I'm good, like, cool. But it's some point, and listen, you could show up, use a fake name, you don't have to tell anyone anything about you, but you can just go meet people, be there. You could wear a full mask. Like, some people show up to our meetups and they cover their face, they wear a hat. Like, whatever level of OPSEC you want, you can control, but don't use that as an excuse to not go out and meet people. Or there's people like, oh, that's far away or whatever, and it's, well, okay, that's fine too, but where do you want to put your time and energy? And putting your time and energy into building community and that sort of thing it will enrich your life so much more than the benefit of the nuclear holocaust, and no one knows you own Bitcoin. Congratulations. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's immeasurable.
Yeah. All right. Okay. One of the other topics I wanted to get to, because I remember talking to you about this backstage at Prague last year, and unfortunately, I won't be able to attend Prague this year. I'm going to see my 91-year-old grandpa out in Santa Barbara and his family. Speaking of people, my step grandma, who he married, oh gosh, I want to say 35 years ago or so. So basically, my grandma, as far as I know her, her grandkids are all homeschooled, and to your point, they're like 16 years old, 12 years old, and they talk like they're 26 and 22. It's just the level of maturity of these kids, and it's like, how are you going to socialize them? Oh, they're going to be weird or whatever. It's like, no, they're interacting with people older than them, people younger than them. They're focused on their interest, and they're really smart. And the one kid, he really took to engineering, and so yeah, he's debating whether he wants to go to college now, but he's looking at going to, like, specifically engineering schools to go, which is probably one of, like, the 4 degrees that are still helpful at a college these days, like actually going to learn physics and engineering and, like, actually doing and building stuff, which we could use way more of in this country. I digress. But they just the maturity of these kids, they're just light years ahead, and you see that, and it's like, again, this is real world validation of this works. Your kid's not going to turn out to be some weirdo recluse that can't interact with society. In fact, they're far more advanced. yet still people are like, oh, you're crazy. You took them out of the schools. They're not getting the state curriculum. It's like,
Hmm.
just even the real world evidence right in front of you is not going
Yeah.
to help. But
Yeah,
anyways,
I've suffered that. Suffered
oh,
that. Like, my kids are bilingual. Like they speak
yeah,
perfect French, like as if they're a native.
yeah,
And still, you still get judged on the original decision rather than the results.
yeah.
And this, and to bring it back to, to analogize this with another saying in the Bitcoin space, like being self-sovereign, taking on responsibility. So when what you're told by the general construct around you is you're being an irresponsible parent. Like the absolute other side of the coin there is the truth. You are
Hmm.
now being a 100% responsible. Like you actually have an active role in their education and their upbringing now. Whereas before, you waved them off and put them on the big yellow bus, excuse me. That's irresponsible. You've just so everything in clown world is upside down. You're told you're being irresponsible, whereas the truth is you're completely responsible. Whereas being irresponsible is actually handing your child over to someone else from the age of 3, 4, 5 to get them through the next 15 with whatever kind of education is getting bandied around now. And these people call them curriculums, they're agendas.
Yeah, of course.
It's obvious
Yeah.
now. Is no one can even bat that one back. Like the level of like nonsensory that's going on in the schooling system right now is beyond it's beyond bananas. And people think it's broken. People tell you the education system's broken. It is not.
No, it's
It's working as designed.
yeah, it's maximally effective right now.
Yeah.
Actually, is what it is. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's fun. It's everything too. I mean, I mean, I have these. My son is 16 months, and we redo them every day. And but these books, I mean, it's like even the songs, the wheels on the bus go round, like, oh, get on your fun, happy bus, like get on the prison bus and go enjoy it. The driver, he's just your friend. He's definitely not a convicted felon who couldn't get any other work. And the
When you see this stuff,
yeah.
like it's
And
when
then
people point.
sorry,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was going to say when people point out like all the programming through the television programs like Peppa Pig or Paw Patrol, all this kind of stuff, you're like, holy crap! Our kids used to sit in front of that stuff for hours, and even worse now, you have the TikTok Shorts, and this is how you just start programming these tiny little beliefs and putting like they know what they're doing. Like this
Oh,
is a psyop.
where you go into the food section and it's cereal, an apple, broccoli, and it's like there's not one piece of meat, there's no eggs, there's no, cheese is about as crazy as they'll get, but it's like some Swiss processed cheese, nonsense as well. So it's just you just see all these things in these books and like what's in the sippy cup, oh, it's orange juice, oh, hey, here's 80 grams of sugar for your like 3-year-old body that you're gonna be shaking and unable to think for the rest of the day. Like that's an awesome way to start your day, and it's just like beaten in there. Anyways, we digress here. Back to originally where I was going with this was I remember sitting backstage with you and at BTC Prague, and I will give credit to BTC Prague. They didn't have too much of the DAT stuff there, and really didn't focus on it or anything. But you and I were talking, and I remember you said to me, you're like, none of this makes any sense, does it? And I said, no. I was actually at the BTC for corporations. This was May of 25. And I was like, they had a guy up on stage bragging about their leverage ratio. I'm like, does that sound like anything else we've ever seen in the past? Like, and we sort of talked about all the problems that were fraught with this, and like leverage works great until it doesn't, right? Until we have one of these drawdown. I mean, we're living through one right now. This is we were up at 80K and we dropped down to 61 or something. We've had a 20% drawdown, and what is it? Liquidation, 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 liquidation. Like, we've seen this movie 8 million times before, and like these digital asset treasury companies, they're like, oh well, the CAGR is Bitcoin is 30%, so we just need to make sure our collateral's right sized, and it'll just go up more than the debt. It's like, well, that's great. The CAGR's an average of 30%, but some years it's down 50%. And it's like, these companies couldn't even make it 1 year. They couldn't even make it really 6 months. And they're completely wiped out. Just absolutely destroyed everyone. I mean, it's just the newest scam, right? Like, hey, Bitcoiners, part with your money. Instead of just buying Bitcoin and holding it, give it to us. We're going to pay, by the way, we're going to pay everyone here like 7-figure salaries to financially engineer a better return than Bitcoin. It turns out we actually financially engineered a worse return than the drawdown of Bitcoin. Paid a bunch of people 7 figures. Basically have a defunct company at this point because we never had an operational business. We didn't have a way to generate cash flow. We were just sort of relying on alchemy. I mean, this is basically the modern fiat day equivalent of what people were like trying to do for the last 6,000 years, to like make gold out of nothing. And it's I what is it about human nature that we have to do? Why do we have to do this over and over? I mean, it's the same thing with socialism, communism. It's like we saw 100 million people die over a century because of this ideology. Like, why do we keep, and now we're electing mayors in New York that are going to redistribute people's property, or take it over when it falls into disrepair, and then give it to the poor people. Like, why do we have to do this forever? Like, I've been thinking more and more about this, and I was talking with Fundamentals, who I saw you were hanging out with in Ireland, Brian, about this, that like, is humanity ever even going to be ready for something like Bitcoin, where it's just a hard money, you save in it, and we're not trying to financially engineer thing. We're not trying, like, even coin clipping, like that was the sort of original fractional like, we've just been doing this forever. We never learn, and it's like we just keep going. And like, are we ever going to get to a point where it's just like, enough, humanity has enough consciousness of this issue or that issue, where like we just move forward and we're leaving this behind? And I'm unfortunately, like, I'm optimistic about the people that have opted into Bitcoin, and our lives will be great, and that's fine. We'll be good. And like, we have our own things that keep us happy, our own faith, our own family, that sort of thing. But like, I'm becoming more and more of the opinion that like, humanity's just, we're just not going to make it there. Like, we're just never going to get there. But I'm curious as to your thoughts.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I guess we'll always have charlatans or grifters, whatever term you want to give, some people that are always looking to game the system in one way, shape, or form, and to their benefit, at the detriment of everybody else's. It's real, yeah. It is a real shame that, I mean, well, Bitcoin now is just attracting more and more of these people, because more as it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? We try and educate as many people as we possibly can about Bitcoin. A certain percentage of those people that actually listen are going to come at it with bad intentions of, oh shit, I'm late to this game. How do I get as many Bitcoin as I possibly can? What do I need to do? How can I do that? What products or services can I offer to get paid in Bitcoin? And generally, you know what it's like to build a Bitcoin business. It's difficult.
Very hard.
It's very difficult because you've got a very sub-niche group of people that you can even market a product to. And there's only an even smaller niche of that group that need or even care about the service that you're offering. But when you offer people like this idea of you never have to sell your Bitcoin, which was the tagline that the loan companies were using, that's very compelling. Very compelling. It's like, oh, wait, I never have to sell my Bitcoin, but I can get the Lambo now because I can just put my Bitcoin with this company, get the bunch of fiat that I need to buy the Lambo or the mansion or whatever it is that you still feel that you needed, which, by the way, you didn't need any of that stuff. You wanted it, and that's different.
Yes.
Then, they're gonna find people like that. And the other clever narrative that was being spun through the Bitcoin treasury company space was trapped capital. Like that, the amount of times I heard that particular term, it was everywhere. And it's like, throughout COVID, when all like the different news stations from around the world had the same 3-letter slogan, build back better, build back better, and you're like,
We're in this
when
together.
you see it all clipped up,
yeah,
you're like, oh my God, like, so the same tricks apply. The same thing happened. And I remember talking to you about it backstage, and I remember that exact time. That weekend, I learned about the Bitcoin treasury company that had been launched in the UK. It hadn't been on my radar. It completely passed me by, thankfully. And that was the Smarter Web company. And all the Bitcoiners over there, the Bitcoiners from Britain, were like, yeah, did you see this thing? It's the new Michael Saylor. It's the new MSTR of Britain. And I'm like, no, how did I miss this? This makes no sense. I know I was living in France at the time, I think, but still, I'm plugged into the European scene. And I'm like, okay, what do they do? Oh, they're a web development company. I'm like, you guys know about AI, right? Like, why are you buying this stock? Tell me again, because there's different reasons different people buy stocks, right, and equities. And that might be that you got deep into the numbers and you've done the Sharpe ratio and you've looked at the PE and the EPS and you've done all the metrics, right? That's never, however, I looked at equity markets. I remember, did you ever read the book One Up on Wall Street by Peter, I've forgotten his name right now. It'll come back to me. Lynch.
I have not. Oh, Peter Lynch.
Okay.
No, I have not.
Peter Lynch. He must have written this book like in the 70s or 80s. It's a classic. And the reason it was so interesting to me and approachable was because half of the stories in there, he would show you how to read some technical analysis, but it wasn't about that. And I don't believe in technical analysis either. But he would say, like, some of the biggest returns I've ever had in my life, and I remember there was a company called Leggs, Leggs, was one of his case studies, was because he went grocery shopping with his wife, and at the checkout there was a product, and he glanced at it, and he looked at it, and he picked it up, and it was like tights, we call them in England. Maybe you call them stockings.
No, tights. Yeah.
Tights
Leggings.
and stockings.
Yeah.
For ladies because back in those days, everybody wore them, right? But they got laddered all the time. So you could pop into the grocery store and just have a spare pair, and it was in the shape of an egg. And he found out which company made it. He bought equity in it, and then they mooned. So, like, there's different ways to look at these companies. And so the first thing I want to know is, what service do they provide? What product are they providing? And when you look at the BTC treasury companies, it's like, oh, right, nothing. Literally nothing. Oh, they've reverse IPO'd, so that means they've bought an existing shell company that was already doing nothing on the stock exchange, but in some cases it might be 100 years old. That company's still listed. So you raise a bunch of money from venture capitalists, and then you buy the rights to that ticker symbol basically, and you take over that company. You rebrand it, you give it a new ticker symbol, and this is what NACA were doing, right, with Kindly MD. Kindly MD, like the original shareholders of Kindly MD, bought into that product because they believed in this company, like decentralizing and improving healthcare for sickly people. Then Bailey swoops in and says, right, we're a Bitcoin fucking treasury company and we're going to take as much money as we can from venture capitalists, give it to our friends in pipe deals, and then drive this thing to what did it get to? 50 cents? Lower. 30? I don't even know. They've reverse split now.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, I mean, I know it's down like 95% or something, I think.
The financial engineering behind all of this is so difficult to understand as well, and I want people to be very careful of that when they're looking at these yield products now, and including Stretch. Saylor, he's got a huge reputation. He's putting a massive reputation on the line here. This could go south.
Yeah. I mean, listen, whatever reason he did it, it was an absolute, a drop in the bucket for his stack. But like, he sold some Bitcoin to pay a premium, and maybe he was just readying the market. Maybe he was signaling something. Who knows what the reasoning is? But like, you can see that playing out in the future at a much larger scale. It's like this could happen. This is a potential possibility down the road. Like, let's not lose sight of that. And you get a big enough bear market, who knows where things end up. And I personally think strategy is just accumulated too much of a position at this point, unless they really extend themselves on leverage, unless they like 4 to 5x their leverage and really get out over their skis. Like, if they're willing to play in this kind of range where they're at now, if they go sell 10x the amount of Stretch they're selling today, well, that might be a little scary. Like, now you have this ballooning obligation and you're not generating any cash flow. Like, your first example actually of like the Lambo, I actually have less of a problem with people. There's risks to borrowing. There's risks to putting your Bitcoin up. You could get a flash crash. You could get liquidated. Like, if you're okay with those risks and you understand them, I'm less concerned about that if you're generating cash flow individually. Like, if you have an income and you're like, hey, I have enough income, I can, or even if you have enough like other liquidity where you're like, hey, I can pay off this loan anytime. I just don't want to pay the capital gains or whatever else. Like, it's a personal financial decision, not one I would make. I wouldn't recommend anyone do that. But I'm actually like, okay, you at least have the wherewithal to support this. It's the stuff the second part you're talking about, where it's like, you don't have anything to support this. This is 100%. There's no cash flow. There's cash flow, but it's not enough. And you're just kind of relying on, you're relying on a Ponzi scheme. You're just like, the next sucker will repay back the first person. And it's like, there will be enough growth to do this into perpetuity. And it's like, no, that never works. Bernie Madoff was offering like 8% returns, and he was the best guy in town, and everyone was like, how the hell did he do it? It's like, now we have a company that's going to offer 13%. We've seen all this stuff, right? Like, BlockFi couldn't even offer 6% returns, and they got wiped out. Pick your liquidate Voyager, all these places, pick your exchange offering much smaller amounts of yield, got completely liquidated. Like, that is the inevitable outcome. Like, it has to come to that. And so,
and on that as well, just like another final kind of philosophical kind of point you have to ask yourself is, if you have bought one of these Bitcoin treasury companies and you are still in the money, very few people are. Like, let's be fair here. You had to be very early in these things, and that was probably because you were invited or given a little bit of a heads up. Most people, if you've ever sold for a profit, who bought them? Another Bitcoiner with their pension money. Because the other narrative was, institutional money is going to come and we've built the bridge and blah, blah, blah. Institutional money do not buy speculative penny stocks. They just don't. Not in any sector. Like, no chance. There's no chance an insurance or a reinsurance company or a sovereign wealth fund is speculating in penny stocks, let alone penny stocks that are tarnished with the negativity of Bitcoin or digital asset treasury or crypto, whatever other word that might be associated with. So the only people that were ever going to buy this stuff was retail market investors, Bitcoiners with so-called trapped capital, which were private or public pensions that they'd built up and saved over the last, in some cases, 2 or 3 decades of work.
I know. Well, and I mean, Stretch is what, 80% retail, I heard. So, I mean, it's like the proof is already in the pudding. It's there. And it's sad, man.
And one of the biggest holders of Stretch are this Apex crowd, right? Some DeFi platform that
Yeah, they're doing
are
a carry
repackaging
trade
it
and
somehow.
yeah, right. They're doing a carry trade. It's like those always end well. Those have never been unwound. The the other thing too is it, like it's interesting. I'm going a little bit of a jag here. So like you see the ETFs came out, and like if you look at the first year and a half or so, that was the trapped capital. Like it ramped up basically from was it January of 24 when they were approved to August of 25. That was the trapped capital moving out. Like, hey, I have a 401k. I can't withdraw it early, or I don't want to withdraw it early, but I do want to hold Bitcoin. And it was basically all retail. And it ramped up, and it's been sitting at that exact level. Like, and you can watch the Bitcoin price chart basically from August to today is the ETF flow. It's all institutional leverage BS, just moving in and out of this stuff. The trap capital is basically untrapped. Like in my opinion, we've solved that problem, and it was with the ETFs. We don't need these other companies, whatever. And I don't like the ETFs, and I think people should just liquidate their 401ks and buy Bitcoin or do a rollover, like I did. But to each their own. But you have almost this canard that we must present these options to these institutions, because like why can't the institutions get their act together and learn how to buy Bitcoin, or even the spot Bitcoin ETF is better than these companies, because at least you could potentially redeem in kind. There's no overhead associated with it. Like you pay the maintenance fee, so it's like, okay, at least you're paying that. You don't own the Bitcoin, but you have a paper claim on Bitcoin, but you don't have an operating company to fund. You're basically just paying for someone else to hold, whatever your Bitcoin, which is also a bad idea. But why must we cater to like why does that need to be a product? Like, why do we have to have that? I never bought the argument just on like this is just silly. Like it's why can't if these institutions are like, we just want Bitcoin but we can't get exposure, then they need to solve that problem themselves. Like they need to go figure out how to buy Bitcoin, how to work the ETFs into the program, how to get regulations changed. These pension funds spend millions and millions of dollars lobbying, taking politicians out to dinner, changing the requirements, getting into this. Every single year, there's like 27 assets that they can buy now or that they can't buy now. Like this stuff is dynamic, changing all the time. And like, if these funds really want Bitcoin, like they'll get it. Like they just need to do the work. And it's like you're providing almost this fake service that, like, trust me, if these funds that hold, like, to your point, like half of the society of Britain, like their retirement plan, and they're like, hey, we need to get some Bitcoin, like the politicians will listen to them, the regulations will change, and you just trying to find some sort of like back door to go get these people's money and then pay a bunch of salaries and not run a functioning operating company it's all kind of a scam from the beginning. Like it's not an actual problem that anyone should be working on, like, in my opinion. But
So I want to touch on a few things there because I 100% agree with everything you just said. Do I want Bitcoin? Do I want Bitcoin on the balance sheets of companies? 100% I do, because I think that's the only way that you future-proof yourself, and you have a
100%.
fiduciary duty as a CEO to protect the employees that work for you and the families, downstream effect of that, and make sure you're around in 100 years' time. As long as your product and service is good enough, and you can move with the market, and serve the market what they're asking for. There's so under the My First Bitcoin umbrella, which I'm sure you're aware of as well.
Very much. Yep.
John asked me to join that board actually the back end of last year, so I've been enjoying that role, and we've got an unconference the day before BTC Prague starts proper. There's a My First Bitcoin unconference where people are going to attend, and all topics are on the table. Just throw a topic up there and throw a panel together, and off we go, like Q&A straight into it. It's going to be fun. But John and the team there originally started with educating the kids, right? School-age kids. Then that got widened out to, obviously, to do that, you need to educate the teachers. So now you're educating the adults on how to deliver the curriculum. Then you've got people like James Dewar, who's been on the show a couple of times here. He got into secondary schools in the UK. He's been delivering the curriculum to them. But him and a few other guys, Darren Fremantle, now I'm going to Hector Alvaro, and I'm blanking on the other name. I'm sorry. Got together and wrote My Bitcoin for Organizations, which is an excellent. If you've never seen it, like this is the stuff that every Bitcoiner, every sleeper Bitcoiner in their company needs to go to My First Bitcoin, look for Bitcoin for Organizations, download the whole thing. It's like 75 pages. This is legit corporate level documentation. Put it in a manila envelope, send it to the CEO, care of the Chief Risk Officer. No, send it to the, exactly. So it lands on the CEO's desk, and he's like, well, this should be for the Chief Risk Officer. He hands it then to the Chief Risk Officer, and now he's like, oh, shit. Because their whole point was, is Bitcoin on the risk register? And you, as a Chief Risk Officer, if any CROs are listening, if you do not have it on the register and you've not looked at it, and you've not looked at the strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats, your job is in danger. And like, how do you get these institutions to understand that they have to look at it, treat it very seriously, and even if they come to a decision where they say, you know what, it's not for us right now, at least it's signed off, it's been looked at, it's there in black and white, and you can circle back to it. But the tools are in place now. I was in Ireland at the Dublin conference. Yes, I was hanging out, had a few Guinnesses with our friend Brian, and Kyle Shirkness was over there as well, and he's
Nice.
he's doing a lot of work with his credit union and trying to get this looked at properly to protect all the families and that are around him and his community. And I've just lost the point I was about to make. Where was I? Get it on the risk register. Make sure you've had a look at it. Go
Bitcoin for
through it.
organizations. Talking. It all started with the DATs and their sort of fake narrative.
Exactly, and that's right. And Brian's written his book, Bitcoin for Organizations. I think that's where I was going to go with that.
Bitcoin for corporations. Yeah.
For corporations, yes.
Yeah.
So the tools are there. And yes, the other thing that was showcased there was a new piece of software called Signing Room. And a young Irish Bitcoiner has given up his fiat development job. He's created this product, and the product is absolutely brilliant. It's kind of, you need the 3 keys to set off the nuclear missile. All got to be in the room. Well, you can now do that with Bitcoin multi-sig, but you can be remote in a totally private room, and all 3, maybe you got the CFO, the CEO, and the CRO maybe they're geographically dispersed, whatever, but they can sign off on movements if they ever need to move Bitcoin. And institutions, once they understand all of these tools are being built for them, they will come. And I'm not sure what the sticking point is. You are on the front line of this with your work, so maybe you can fill me in and some of the conversations you've been having and the barriers to entry.
I think I think the sticking points. I mean, just being honest, I think it's even though it is 17 years old, it's still new in terms of what's being talked about, and I think the lack of education hinders people because I've talked to some people at banks, and I've actually put a presentation together for banks of how to lend against Bitcoin responsibly, over collateralizing and holding the private keys, putting them in multiple vaults, and why they should do it, because they print money out of thin air. So you have access to the Fed window. The people currently lending in the Bitcoin space have access to private capital, and so it's more expensive. And so I kind of just lay everything out for them, and it's the lack of knowledge. It's like, okay, the people I'm talking to, how are you going to go, pitch this? So I don't know enough about this. Like why would we do this? How would we do it? So I think there's that element of it. And then I just think there's, we saw it during COVID where everyone is just scared to get out of line. Like everyone, there were probably 20% of society that were like really hardcore militant, that really believed, especially like, I'm not talking like March of 2020, but like March of 2021, there was probably 20% of society where it was like hardcore, the masks work, I'm on my 19th vax and all this stuff. But I would say, and then there was probably 20% that was like, this has been a scam since day one. This is all completely ridiculous. I'm taking a stand against this. I'm not going to wear my mask in the grocery store or through the airport. I'm never getting a vaccine. I'm not doing any of this crap. And then there was that 60% in the middle where it was just like, I just tell me what to do. I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to be like looked at weird. And I just think there's this inertia of I just don't want to go outside. And the irony is, in the corporate world, the people who are willing to go outside, who are sort of those cutthroat people, that they have their ideas that get listened to at the higher levels. That world's been very good to them, and so you have this kind of self-reinforcing system where the people who have been the most successful have been most successful by going outside the norm within, like, in this system. And it's like, I don't want to upset this system. So you have this kind of tension where the people that would be the ones willing to pitch Bitcoin have actually been beneficiaries of the system that's benefited them. So I think there's those two things are probably the big ones. And then it's just at the end of the day, there's just so few people that actually truly understand Bitcoin. And it's just in a company, I was at a company of 5,500 people. I would say maybe 5 people understood Bitcoin, and 3 of them were people that that I orange pilled. And so it's just really hard to get traction and momentum in systems where they're working for the people there. Everyone's got a decent job, a decent house, a decent car, their kids are in school. Like, it just kind of all works for them. And unless you're really willing to step out and want control of your life, people say they want control of their life, but they don't. They want security, and they would
And
much
they want to watch the
rather.
game.
Yeah, exactly. They want to go home, have a couple pops, and watch the game, and that's it. Most people are just fine with that, and So there's just a status quo and a security level that people are just okay with, and they kind of don't want to change, and they're just content with where things are. And so it was that wasn't a real specific answer, but I think it's just kind of a confluence of a bunch of different issues that make it really difficult. And that's the reason when I've been talking to banks, I've tried to frame it the way I do, because I say you can make money doing this. Like, hey, that's like, in my opinion, that's the Trojan horse. I don't talk anything about the value of Bitcoin, it's long-term money, it's going to replace I just say, like, here's a way for you guys to generate money doing this. And there is a need, clearly, like people do want to go and borrow against their Bitcoin. Like, it's very obvious that the market is asking for that. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't recommend other people do that, but it's clear there's a demand for it. And it's like, you can go service that demand, make money doing it. And like, that's all I say. And so maybe I think that's a way as well. In institutions is just, unfortunately, you're not going to win them over with the philosophical or ethical arguments. You just have to go tell them how it's going to make money for them. And I think, to your point, like the chief risk officer, it's like, well, the risk is we sit in T-bills and we clip a 4% coupon every year, but our currency is devaluing at like 8 to 9% every year. And so you're really losing half of your savings. And like, have you considered that risk? And so I like that messaging. I think we're just going to have to make only the economic argument in these big companies and corporations going forward.
Absolutely. And risk managers, they get paid a lot of money, right, under the CRO. So you may as well give them some risk to manage, like there's, right. One last point on that. David Paul was the other person. I didn't want to carry on without mentioning his name. Bitcoin for Organizations. If you go to the Once Bitten podcast, it's quite recent, episode number 609. You'll get the full overview there. It's just over an hour, and we go through the whole thing. And
was he on with someone else as well?
Yeah, I had three of them on. Three.
Yeah, it was. That's what I thought. Okay,
yeah.
Go listen to that episode if you're more interested in this topic. And I like that episode. As I was saying, I like that approach. I like putting it in front of people. But it's also, I mean, listen, like there's just something about people looking at a specific point in time. It's just, I mean, the bear market and the bull market, they're just completely different animals. I mean, even last year, we were getting a lot more calls and reach outs and interest in Bitcoin last year. Like, the people we were talking to, as they were much more open to it. Now that it's, been cut in half from its all-time high, it just, people just don't want to, like, they don't want to talk about it. It's they're waiting for it to come back, or chasing an AI trade, or buying gold, or I don't know what people are doing. And so it just never ends. It's just like the same thing over and over. It's like, even people that have held for like 10 years, it's like, how many of these do you need to go through to, like, this is what it does, man. But there's just a psychological, what have you done for me lately? Like, everyone looks, gold had a massive run in the last 18 months, and it's like, well, Bitcoin didn't, and so therefore it's failed or something. And it's like, did you get into this from first principles, or like, are you just trying to make a quick buck and get more dollars to go consume more stuff? And it's like, so there's, we talked about a little bit at the beginning, there's just a human psychology element that I just don't ever think is going to be broken. And there's just, it's those quick games. How, I mean, that's really what charlatans, grifters, whatever. That's really what they're doing, right? They're just trying to like separate someone
Yeah,
from their money real
and one
quick.
and one last point on
Yeah.
the loan product. Like you said, go ahead and buy the Lambo if that's what you want to do. But always, and you generally can't find this out, ask the question, where does the fiat come from? You're giving up a lloydial title, something that you have complete and utter total control over, rather than ownership. Control. You're the only one that can move those coins. And then you give that control up. Now that fiat money that you're getting in return, and you're going to have to pay interest on, by the way, which again is upside down. Like,
Yeah. You should be paying me interest to get this
yeah,
collateral, but
absolutely.
yeah.
But whatever, this is the world we live in. Where's that fiat come from? Where does it come from? It's not coming from the company, because the company is a startup. They don't have the fiat in the first place to give to you in order to hold your Bitcoin. That fiat is coming from somewhere else. Generally, venture capital money, I would guess.
Private credit, yeah.
Yeah. Worst case scenario, they've got a bank providing liquidity in the background. And if that is the case, they are counterfeiting dollars in the background to give to you for the Bitcoin that you've just placed there, that you're going to have to pay interest on. I mean, this is usury in its purest form. If you're paying any kind of percentage on counterfeit money that didn't exist until that credit was deployed, and you're taking on all of the risk of a flash crash or a downturn or negative press or market manipulation, and your Bitcoin gets swept, to what end? Like, I think there's better ways to sleep at night rather
Oh,
than
I don't
put your
disagree at
Bitcoin.
all. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I 100% agree, but like, again, clearly, I would say we're in the minority. I would say that, I mean, you even look at, very, very public figures who, I consider to be ethically aligned. I don't think they're trying to lead anyone astray or anything like that. That they like the products, and so who am I to tell them no? I mean, I agree. They're like, the whole fiat system is a complete ethical abortion, for lack of a better word, and so it's frustrating that I mean, like, I don't want to pay any of my bills in fiat. Like, but I don't have a choice, unfortunately. Like, I can't go orange pill the utility company. I can't orange pill the county and for my property taxes, which I don't want to pay either, and which is also usurious and completely absurd that anyone has to pay property tax. I mean, it's just, you don't own your property. It's not even property taxes. It's rent. It's so the whole system is completely broken, evil, unethical, and then you get to the point where, like,
Working perfectly as designed.
yes, exactly, yeah, extractive as ever, and
That was all hashed out in 1910, my friend. We
yeah,
know
I
that
mean,
on Jekyll
they
Island. This is
of
the plan
course.
they came up with, and it's working perfectly.
They got exactly what they wanted, everything they wanted, and so then you get into this conundrum where it's like, okay, well, how do I interact with this system? It's morally reprehensible, but at the same time, you, like, effectively can't live in society without it. Like, unless you're willing to, and that's what I've tried to do more and more and more, is get as many of those fiat transactions out of my life. Like, can I, buy my beef in Bitcoin, get my haircut in Bitcoin, buy my ghee from Great Ghee. That's the cooking oil I use. I buy whole lambs from Rev Hodl. So, like, I try to take more and more of this stuff out of my life to where I can transact in Bitcoin, but that only works to an extent, and then you're back to this sort of, like, do you want you want a monastic existence? Do you want to just go pure asceticism and live in a cave, or like do you actually want to interact with society? And so it's a tough balance, and I find it hard, and I find myself struggling at times balancing these things out. And we're just a generation or generations that were in this transition period, and it's hard. I think there's a ton of gray area, a ton of nuance, and I don't besmirch people for making certain decisions, even though I may disagree with them. I get where they're coming from. I get why they want to do it, and it's hard, and it's everyone's moral compass is calibrated differently, and it I mean, that's another very difficult thing about being a Bitcoiner, back to getting into your community, talking about this stuff with them. Like, hey, how do you deal with this? Like, I had some conversations with some guys that are doing homesteading. It's like, hey, my inputs are in fiat, but I want Bitcoin for my products. Like, how do I manage this? And it's like, yeah, that's a really difficult conversation to have, you know? So yeah, it's there's no great answer. But the one truth is we are operating in a morally bankrupt system. And so how do you navigate through that? It's the ongoing question.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, tough. Such are the conundrums of a Bitcoiner. So
Yes.
oh man. Daniel, anything else you want to do to get to here? I mean, there's like 90 other topics. I just know we're going to end up on them for like 40 minutes. So
Yeah, no problem. You did bring up one thing, like the argument, I guess, that's going on at the moment, which is probably confusing a lot of people. That being like the BIP 110, either you're for it or you're against it, and it looks like there's a lot of anger on Twitter and name throwing and whatever else, which there is. But again, once you get in front of people and have these discussions, and in real life, face to face, even like the so-called debates on stage, on panels, like they never end up in fiery kind of arguments. They're always
civil.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, well discussed, and
Yeah.
both sides probably still walk away with their own thoughts and whatever else. Very rarely are you going to sway somebody's opinion, and I think that's where we are at the moment with the noise you see on Twitter is a very small subset. There is obviously a lot more people making noise that shouldn't be, in my opinion. It'd be interesting. You'd never be able to tell. I wonder how many people have weighed in with an opinion on either side of this debate whilst not even running a node.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well,
So then,
yeah.
if you look at that, that's just noise. There's pure noise there. The only
Yeah.
signal is the node that you run and the software you decide to run on that node. That you can keep as private as you like. So all of the noise that you're seeing on Twitter, use it for building an opinion. Don't fall into the trap of just following people because you've been following for a long time. And I've got friends I disagree with on this side of things, and people I truly respect, and we'll have ongoing conversations. But it comes down to running the node, and like you said on the COVID thing, right now there seems to be the ambivalent majority that aren't saying anything. Maybe they've already made the decision. Hopefully they're buying a node, and then they can set the node up. We need more nodes on the network anyway.
Yes, we do.
Node is law, and
Yes.
it's down to you to up your education around that. We have the technology now. We've got out of the box nodes, whether that's Umbrel or Start9, just to name two. I couldn't give you the full list, and I'm not affiliated in any way. Get onto that, have a look at it, make sure you self-custody your Bitcoin. Please, let's not brush over how important that is. Get them off an exchange. If you've bought Bitcoin on an exchange, you've sent your fiat across, then they've updated you with a amount of Bitcoin or sats that you apparently own. You don't until you've taken complete control, and that means getting a hardware wallet. Look into those, whatever one is best for you, and take that very seriously. And stay humble. Don't get over your skis. Don't leverage. Don't trade. Don't do shit coins, kids. you know, all of
That's
that. These are the maxims that I grew up on. You know,
yeah,
and
same.
like, there's not enough of it being. I guess people like you and I, maybe we feel as though we've said it enough now. Everybody's got the message, and we forget number go up every day. Number of people go up every day, and that's the only metric we should care about. We shouldn't really care about the dollar sticker price. Number of people joining the network, that's going up every day. There's newcomers coming every day, and they need the guidance and they need the help, and they don't need the noise. So everyone's on their own journey, and I hope like the work that you're doing is going to go a long way to educate those in the institutions and communities. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I mean that's a big part of what we're doing at Sovereign is we're finding more and more that we're helping, which is why we renamed this podcast from the Bitcoin Business Podcast to the Becoming Sovereign Podcast. Is we're finding more and more it's individuals that want to become sovereign, and they're like, hey, this is a lot. There's 97 wallets, there's 84 softwares, like, help me out here. And it's like, yeah, okay. So we're finding more and more. It's like, okay, let's get you a good stack in order. Let's get you the right wallet. Let's show you how to self-custody. Let's show you how to do a send, a receive, how to back up from your seed phrase, how to back up your backup, and all these really important things. And that's, we just like officially partnered with Bitcoin Well to basically provide that service to them, to the support for their exchange. We're hoping to do it with some other exchanges as well, but a hands-on talk to a person or people to do that. And we're finding people are really liking that, and they're thankful, they're grateful. They're like, okay, awesome. I had to spend a little bit of money, but I'm in such a better position, and I've been educated way more than I ever was. And so we're doing more and more of that now. We're kind of finding that's becoming sort of our niche and what people are looking for. So, and yeah, I mean, self custody is paramount. Still don't have a customer. We haven't gotten into self custody. Maybe one day we'll have to cross that bridge, but we're hoping we don't. But I want to get back. I mean, what you were talking about, all the BIP 110 stuff. What you were talking about, there's a bunch of gray area and nuance. Like, I'm one of those people. Like, I think Core made a really, really poor decision. I don't think they listened to the feedback from the community. They rammed it down everyone's throat, and that was a horrendous decision. And I'm not going to run Core 30, but I run a version less than Core 30. And I actually sympathize with the BIP 110 knots people. I would say I'm more ideologically aligned with that group of individuals. I would say that's more. I think Bitcoin is money. I think we should get as much bloat out of the chain as possible. I want to keep the data footprint low. I don't want these other transactions in there. At the same time, I also believe that the market will price them out, and I know you may feel a little differently on that. I do feel that over time the market will correct for that. We may have to live through some periods of pain while the VC saboteurs or whatever they are get to the network and inflict some short-term pain and even some long-term pain as the bloat in the chain does build up over time. So I truly am like in the middle on this one, and I don't think Bitcoin's going to die either way. I don't think if we soft fork. I actually appreciated Luke DeWolf, who you had on, his opinion, where he was like, I'm all for the change, but the catastrophic downside of a soft fork is too much for me. And I thought that was a unique
The chain
perspective
split.
too. Yeah, the chain split. Yeah, sorry.
Chain
Yeah.
split, yeah. Which
Right.
would,
Yeah.
I mean, that's not definitely going to happen either. He in his mind, the probability of a chain split for him was too high if
Was
he was
too
looking
great.
at it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So there's all these different nuanced ways to look
Yes.
at this, and I actually I find myself like 90% agreeing with like the Knots, the BIP 110 side, but also I also don't like the fact that Knots is run by a single individual. I at the same time you have a group of individuals who rugged everybody on the core side, so it's like
Yeah.
this not great and I appreciate the fact that people like Jimmy Song and Parker Lewis, they're trying to come out with, another version. I don't like the fact that it's like, hey, we got a bunch of VC funding and we're doing it. Like, I would much more rather see like an organic Satoshi like, new introduction of something. Like, I don't know why you have to have VC money to, Luke to, I disagree with him on a lot, but to his credit, he just put something out there. I know he did have ocean money, but I don't really connect the two. Like, he just said, hey, I'm going to put my own instance out there, and people can run that if they want. So I would appreciate more of that too. Like, as many of these choices as we possibly can get, and then let your node choose which one you want to run. So there's all sorts of things to consider and positions to take. And to your point, like, when you sit down and actually talk to people in real life, aside from a few extra acerbic people, most of them are civil and will have a conversation with you. And like I said, I find myself kind of on both sides of this issue. And it's tough. It sucks because it's like there is no clear direction I want. I'm not excited about either direction. And it's like, I don't love that. It's like I'm kind of grinning and bearing going in one direction, and it's definitely not ideal.
Yeah, so just a few things. The idea that they'll be priced out. Yeah, of course. I mean, we've seen people come and go and try this in the past with goodness knows how many other grifts on the Bitcoin blockchain. Let's say, for example, Citrea and Opnet and the Wizards and whoever else are around for the next 2 years minimum.
Please no. Yeah.
Right. Let's say they're around for the next 2 years minimum, and they've got all that space now because Core 30 blew out the op return limit. They've got all that space to use up and jam the chain full of bloat. The downstream effects of that in 10 years' time, when somebody comes to Bitcoin and treads that beaten path with all trodden for them, and they go out and buy their node, but their node is going to take months to sync up, and it's going to cost like a ridiculous amount because the amount of bloat that's being put on the chain is outpacing the cost of the technological
The
price.
bandwidth, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're going to need like a stack of a server or something, rather than what we had the privilege of a Raspberry Pi. I mean, when I had to, I had a 1 terabyte disk that got blown out.
I just had to upgrade mine to a 2 terabyte. So
Yeah, and how much did that cost you?
that was only like $50. But I do a hardware. I don't do a SSD. I do a HHD, and then
Okay.
load in.
Right.
So yeah.
But $50, that
Yeah.
to the people that we're trying to reach and make sure
Plus
everybody
the
can run a
laptop
node,
and yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's not accessible already. So I think taking. A lot of people say as well, like it's too hard and fast. We need more time to think about this. I counter that with this has been going on since February 2023. I mean, how long are we going to let this honestly run? And to your point again, like they've been called. So I've watched both sides. The one side's been called the belligerent minority, i.e. the BIP 110 camp. And they're toxic, and they're the belligerent minority, and they're led by Luke Dash Jr., and we don't want just one guy in charge, which you said as well. I think Knots has been running since 2013, and basically it's, again, I can't code, and I'm just probably paraphrasing what I've heard. It's basically Bitcoin Core version 29 with tighter rules. So you've had all of the improvements up until that point. Where was I going with that? So yeah, the belligerent minority. Like, well, who were the five guys that had the keys to make the change from version 29 to version 30? If there was not a perfect picture of like a belligerent minority of people that went out and made the change, and yes, I know you don't need to reach consensus at the policy level, but still, guys, like there was already so much pushback. And then it was very, very strange that we had this one person that was being pushed forward and she was taking all the flack for it and doing all of the interviews. And then she leaves. And then the narrative from that side of things is she was bullied out by the maximalists and you're all so toxic and blah, blah, blah. You're like, well,
This is why we can't have the core devs because they're going to get abused and
yeah.
yeah. I mean, I would call the core devs not a belligerent minority, but an intransigent minority, and they just refuse.
Well, and to be clear, I'm not talking about the core devs as a whole. I was talking about like the very few people at the top of that spear.
Exactly.
As I've learned now from reading
the 4 or 5 of them. Yeah.
From reading Hoddernort's articles, which and listening to John Attack, his interviews that he did with Bob Burnett and Knut von Holm, somebody that had been working within Bitcoin Core since the late noughties and seen it all and mapped it all out. Have you heard those interviews? They're so enlightening.
I have not.
Okay,
who did the interview?
So John Attack was the Bitcoin Core dev that basically came out and said, this is all going on and happening because, and he tracked it all the way back and talks about the hiring of
okay, so it was his. Okay, got it. It was his interviews then.
So he gave a talk in El Salvador that went viral at the one of the conferences. I think it was back in January, February, adopting maybe.
Right. Yep.
Then Bob Burnett had him on his show, on his podcast that's called Old Man Yells. And Knut von Holm had him on the Bitcoin Infinity show. And it was those interviews and other conversations in back channels that Hodlernaut was having with other people from either side of this camp, which spurred him to go and do deeper research so he could verify for himself what has actually been going on. And he gets right deep down into the weeds. He's in the internet relay chats. He's got all of the receipts of the receipts. He's given everybody right to respond, and he's released 2 essays so far about what has been going on. And that to me is a problem because it's called Capture, the series of essays. If you've got a core group of people, that's centralization. And they're getting funding from 2 or 3 places. That's centralization. So we've got centralization being built on centralization, and they're making decisions that, like you said, were heavily contested, but then just pushing them through anyway. And then all of a sudden, the conflict of interest starts showing up because people that were vociferous to make this change, all of a sudden you found out they had investments in Citria, for example. You're like, oh my God, guys, this is getting worse and worse. The more you read into it.
The Citria thing is just an absolute embarrassment.
So when you look at the solution that's being offered, and by the way, for anybody listening as well, it's not Luke that's offered the solution. Like this is a completely anonymous person that's obviously been watching this play out, obviously a Bitcoiner and a developer and a coder, calls themselves Datum Om. So we have the same situation we had all the way back in the beginning where we've got Satoshi comes up with this idea, puts it out there, people rally around it. But it just gets too tightly tied to Luke, just because it's going to be run on knots. But and then the last thing for me is the restricted data transaction soft fork. That's what it stands for, RDTS. Temporary soft fork. Restricted data, temporary soft fork. I knew I got one of them wrong. It's temporary, so it's a year. from block activation date. So during that year, what can happen? Production ready can come up with something. Who knows? Maybe some other core devs might come up with something that's more palatable than this. But it gives us a year where we can tighten the rules again. We can stop the bloat hitting the blockchain. If everybody hates it after that year, it just expires and we go back to where we were before. Or we've got another choice ready, or another two choices ready, or people might like it, and that's also fine. So it just seems to be, instead of moving fast and breaking things, because let's not forget Core also, that they shipped 30 with a bug and then they shipped 31 with a bug. Like, this isn't cool, guys. Like, this isn't, not when people's livelihoods and generational planning is on the line here. People that have been around for a cycle or two and have, like yourself, you've quit your fiat job. Like, this isn't a joke to you. This is something that needs serious. You got a young family, and there's many more people like that out there that are watching this play out. And yes, the chain split, there's a probability. And if that probability does come through, then the price of Bitcoin will likely tank. And it will cause a little bit of confusion, or a massive amount of confusion, for a handful of months. And then it will smooth out again.
I'm not even saying that's not my analysis either. I'm comfortable running a core version less than 30 right now. That's been my solution right now, and I'm kind of in the let's let everything play out mode. So I'm going to run my version less than 30, and I'm just going to I hate to call it a war, but it kind of is. The block size war was called the block size war for a reason. Where I don't know if you want to call it the Nats core war, the BIP 110. I don't know what you want to call it, but I'm kind of taking the Switzerland approach. Like I'll let Germany use my banks and the U.S. and then see who wins at the end. And Bitcoin will be fine.
It will be fine.
So maybe that's not the greatest answer. Maybe I'm not like doing enough, but I've kind of taken I'm going to let this play out with a version I'm comfortable with currently that doesn't support these things that I don't agree with, and I will make a decision at a later date. Is kind of the position I have taken. So,
and that's. Like, again, I just want to make the final point here. It's called a user-activated soft fork.
Yes.
User is the key word there. You are a user. You're running your firm. You're running your software how you see fit. Like that. You're a user. You've got your vote. You're done.
Yep.
It's perfect.
Yep. My vote has been cast. Yeah.
So those people that are listening, please get out there. Get that node. Get that node spun up. It doesn't matter to me what side of this debate you fall on. More nodes.
More nodes. We definitely need more nodes. More nodes, more self-custody, and more sovereignty, for sure. It's people, people, I was kind of talking about this, but even before we got on, so very early. I think it's the earliest podcast I've ever recorded. But even before that was talking with some friends about that okay, everything that's going on with the price and the market and the macro and the war and blah blah blah. Bitcoin 5 years ago it's like the same price. The top of last cycle, the bottom of this cycle. Hopefully, maybe we go a little lower. Who knows? But I said also there's this thing that's lost in, at least in the United States, probably Western culture in general, or not what culture, Western countries in general, Western, colloquially Western cultures, the Anglosphere plus whatever you want to call it, developed nations, whatever terrible euphemism we have, that people have never really used Bitcoin as money they treat it as a store of value. They are in the, Michael Saylor camp. It's digital capital. It's a store of value and these things. And most people have never even done a Lightning transaction, or they've only transacted on the base layer, and they've definitely never sent it via their own node. They're not validated. If you're running a node, you've probably used the Lightning network. That's probably like a 95% Venn diagram overlap. And but outside of that group of people, almost no one is utilizing Bitcoin as the bearer asset. It is both a bearer asset and a currency, and a unit of account eventually one day. But it most people have only touched the store of value part of it, and they don't realize the power of the medium of exchange. And it's like there is this whole other world of benefit that comes beyond just the store of value part of using Bitcoin. And it is literally the only thing. I shouldn't say literally. You could have a bar of gold and keep it in your backyard. You own that too, because you have physical possession of it. But it is one of the very few things in this world that you can actually own and control and don't owe to anyone else, and can move anytime you want. And certainly, unlike the bar of gold, you can send it anywhere in the world anytime you want, 100% in your control. And people are like, you can't even pay for a coffee in Bitcoin, which is a total canard as well. You can absolutely pay for it. I've done it, but you're definitely not paying for a cup of coffee with some gold shavings. So there's all these added benefits of holding the asset, being in control of the asset, and using the asset, that like it just gets discounted to zero with so many people. Like that's just not even a factor in their analysis of what they're holding and what they have, and that is really sad. And I remember when I first ran a node and I connected my node to Sparrow, I plugged my wallets in, and not literally plugged them in. I air gap them because I'm special, but had the wallets in there, and then actually like saw on the computer like a verification, validation of your Bitcoin is real. You actually own it, and you can move it anywhere you want when you tell me to. And like there was an empowerment and an understanding that almost like you're talking about, like I quit my job, like this is no joke to me. There's like a seriousness that becomes added to it when you do that it's not just numbers on a screen or part of my diversified portfolio, or I'm gonna just have it as part of my investment thesis. Like there is a seriousness and gravity that comes with actually doing that and actually using it in that manner. And I think more people, it sounds foo-foo-y and douchey and pious, but I think more people would really benefit from taking those steps and seeing what that actually means and how truly important and powerful this is, that this is not just some newfangled investment to get in the ground floor on.
100% agree with you. If it does not become a medium of exchange, which it will, it's just a matter of time.
Yep.
I think to paraphrase Parker Lewis, our species will trend towards the hardest form of money. It's just ingrained in us. So this is going to happen. You've got some cool things going on in the States. You've got Square now that are accepting Bitcoin payments across 4 million merchants or something like that. I mean, that's incredible. Yeah. So anyone listening, get out there, buy a cup of coffee, load up a Lightning wallet. Just go and see that happen in front of your eyes.
BTCmap.org. Go check out where they're at in your community. Yeah.
Big shout out, BTC Map. Another great community building tool. And Nathan, the founder, is going to be at BTC Prague. He'll be on some panels and giving some talks and giving some updates, because he's been working very closely with the Square team to make sure that all the merchants can get onboarded properly to BTC Map and then verified. But we need the plebs on the ground to go out and do the work and find out Where is there a Square terminal in my immediate vicinity that I can go and buy something with Bitcoin and just see that reaction from the lady behind the counter? Like, when like you say, "Oh, you got a Square terminal right there. Can I pay in Bitcoin?" And they're like, I what?" You're like, "Yeah, you just spin it around. Yeah, look, there's it. Just press that button. There's the QR code. There you go. Paid. Thank you very much." Like it's magic. It's magic internet money. Like this is what we're here to do. And if we don't teach people and show people that, it's going to take an extra couple of years. So it's down to us. It's incumbent on us to, at the grassroots level, educate as many people as we possibly can. And seeing is believing. And if you can get out there and do that, then I urge you to do it. We've got a company here in the UK called Musket that are trying to roll this out as well, like point of sale machines. Maybe Square roll out here at some stage too. But if you can get as many of your daily needs like switched over to Bitcoin, your life just becomes easier. Like the fiat worries just start lifting. There are ways to do it here in Europe. There are some, you can do like prepaid cards and stuff, but every time you're still touching the fiat rails. Like that, there's no, you want that pure experience where you are buying your beef or your raw milk or your farm eggs, whatever, with Bitcoin. So yeah, keep trying. Like we've got to make this become a medium of exchange. It has to be money. Like digital credit. I've got digital credit. I have it. I've had it for freaking 30 years. It's my Amex card. Like there's nothing new here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I actually had a call last week with a couple of the Square reps in Chicago, and so going to be trying to work on stuff with them to get it rolled out to more places and educate them and their customers about Bitcoin being a resource for them. Like, hey, I hear this Bitcoin option. Why should I turn it on? And so I've kind of created like a list of reasons to turn it on for merchants. So
and every fast food joint or restaurant should be looking at Steak and Shake as a case study.
That's
like,
that's
well,
I mean that's the number one example. Yeah.
MBAs in 20, 30 years time are going to be studying this moment. They're going to be studying this inflection point, and they're going to like, here's the case study of Steak and Shake, and look what happened. Like because somebody in that institution did the work, figured it out, and no competitors.
I did a ton of work in the franchise space, handling distressed franchises and franchisees and franchisors, all the franchise prefixes, and
how many could have been saved if they'd stacked Bitcoin,
or not even like even more than stacking Bitcoin, like. That's definitely like a long-term save. That's like, hey, let's start your 5-year loan. Let's get you stacking some Bitcoin. And so like when it comes time to like repay the loan at the end of this, so you've built up this war chest of Bitcoin and now you can do your CapEx. Now you can do all these other things. Like that's the long-term strategy. But how many of these companies could have done what Steak and Shake did and seen same-store sales go up 15% in a quarter? That is unheard of. You get same store sale increases of 1% to 2% a quarter. You're blowing the doors off. You're probably in the top 10% of whatever brand you're franchising.
And how many of these are publicly listed?
The franchisors are almost all publicly listed.
All right, this is insane.
Yeah.
Like, what are they doing? Like the C and Steak and Shake blow out.
I know.
Out. And who's at Subway looking at this? Like.
Oh, that's what I'm shocked. I'm shocked it hasn't come more from the franchisors down to the franchisees. Like it's one thing for the franchisees to use a Square terminal to begin accepting Bitcoin. It's another thing for the franchisors to be like, what? By the way, when you're a franchisee, if you care at all about sovereignty or control of your life, do not become a franchisee. You are an absolute bitch to someone else. You are.
It's funny that these guys actually do think of themselves as entrepreneurial.
It's no, yeah, you're completely beholden to someone else's rules. Regular, I mean, you pay a vig up to them. Like, I mean, it's like the oldest form of organized crime.
And
um,
you have
yeah,
no control over
none.
the product that is flying
You
at
don't have
you.
a you don't have control over the sign you put up on the outside. You don't have control of the lease you sign. You have to get approval from you. You can't even sign like a quote unquote market lease with people in your area. You have to go get approval from some central hub in wherever they're located.
I'll give you a little. Let's just say there may or may not be a franchisee in the UK with 30 stores that wants to accept Bitcoin but can't. Or
Yeah,
even if he does, couldn't announce it, or like the
yeah.
franchisor wouldn't like touch it. Like, when does that
Tho-
flip? We've got to be close to
well,
that flipping.
well, that's where I was going with this. Is like I'm shocked that the franchisors aren't pushing it down. Like, hey, you're gonna start accepting Bitcoin now, because we saw Steak and Shakes same store sales. Say that 15 times fast.
Yeah.
Holy cow! Um, uh, balloon, and we want access to the same thing. Like we want to, and it's only going to be around for a little bit, right? Like you're going to get the first mover boost and bump, and then you'll build a little loyalty there, and then as more and more places accept it, some will fall off, but some Bitcoiners will remember, who was there first. But like eventually it's just going to be every franchise is accepting Bitcoin, and you're just going to be back to good old fashioned competition. But like you have this window where you can get this massive early mover advantage, that, yeah, I'm just shocked more people aren't taking advantage of.
Well, the time bomb is ticking, and like I said earlier, Bitcoin for
Yeah.
organizations is there.
Bitcoin for organizations, Bitcoin for corporations. Come check out our website, sovereign, SOVREIGN.io. We have tons of resources, and we have our ebook. It's free to download, and there's just so much great information, and ways to increase your knowledge, and to figure out ways into, potentially helping bring organizations on board. So yeah, check all of that stuff out. It's all fantastic. Daniel, thank you so much for joining me. Always a pleasure talking with you. And yeah, we'll definitely not make this the last time. And I'll come with a list of other topics next time. And
Cool, man.
hopefully
Well, thank you.
hopefully BIP 110 is resolved by then, and we can talk about stuff like the founding of the Federal Reserve, the old world, and things like that. Some other fun topics.
Absolutely, 100%. Thanks for having me on, and all the best with what you're doing at Sovereign. Really appreciate
Thanks, man. And yeah, and so people can check out the Once Bitten podcast on all your podcasting platforms, but please listen on Fountain if you can. Boost the show. And then, what are you at Princey on Nostr, or are you at Daniel Prince? I can't remember.
it. On X, it's at Princey21M, and on Nostr, I think it's the same. I'll just double check for you.
Yeah, probably. Just search Daniel Prince in there, I think.
Yeah, it will come up.
Yeah.
Princey at primal.net. Yeah.
Okay,
There you go.
there you go. Princey at primal.net. So check that out as well. And I can't wait to read your book. I got I think 200 pages left in Atlas Shrugged. So
Enjoy
maybe
it.
by the end of June. Well, yeah, I mean, I love it. It's an unbelievable read, but it's I don't want to say it's a slog, because that kind of has like a pejorative.
I need a
Uh,
revisit. I do
yeah.
need a revisit, but I fear a revisit because I know how big it is.
Yeah. Well, man, I mean, if there's anything more relevant to the times today, I like, man, are we living? And I know we've been kind of living through it, really, ironically, since 1913, maybe even a little before that. But man, it seems like it's accelerating, these sort of rent seekers seeking even more rent. it just seems like we're on overdrive on that right now, which of course is the central theme of the book. So, but yeah, got your book up next, and thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.